Hello, listeners. This is Creepypasta Salad here. I'm doing this recording because I wanted to do something for reaching 100 followers on FimFiction, the My Little Pony fanfiction website. It's been a little while in coming, but I really appreciate all the support. As such, I wanted to do something special. I wasn't really sure what I ought to do. I do post blog posts there every once in a while, and on occasion, I have mentioned the roommates that I've had in college and a few of my complaints. Basically, they have driven me, I don't know, not insane, but it has been very difficult to tolerate them. In particular, there's this guy named Jacob who's been living with me, and he's been living in the main section of our room. Part of it is sectioned off. It's kind of a private part of the room, and one of my roommates got there really early so that he could get that section of the room, and he left me stuck with Jacob. And Jacob, well, I want to read to you a litany that I have written for him. If you're not too keen on hearing a list of complaints, then you probably ought not to listen to this. However, I believe some of the things written here are rather interestingly written, so you might get some entertainment out of it. And if you've had poor roommates in the past, perhaps you might find some things that are relatable in this. I don't mean for this to come across as very whiny, but, it's a rant. It's a litany. What can you really expect? Also, if this recording sounds a little bit, strange, different than usual, I am recording with an Aerodol. I believe that's how it's pronounced. It's some sort of recorder. It's apparently a very good kind of recorder that was provided to me by the university for me to borrow. Usually I record with my studio-grade microphone, but I decided not to bring my studio-grade microphone with me to school this semester. I am also recording in a room that, I've never recorded in before. So I apologize if this sounds of a little bit less quality than my regular recordings. This is not the time when I demand from you an apology. This is when I apologize to you. I have not respected you. I have treated you and dealt with you not as a man, but as a boy. If I had, I would have called you on your crap within the second week of school, and would have been able to expect you to make something of it. Again, I have not assumed you were a man for a good part of the last 8 months, for it is hard to be so assuming about people who are vexed by having to turn a key, although, of course, as a city slicker who didn't grow up in the nicest place on earth, I wouldn't know what it's like to be comfortable without a locked door between my home and the outside when I am asleep, so there's my bias. I'm guessing you really didn't bank on having to room with somebody who didn't want a certain substance present in the room while he was living in it. I suppose that posed quite an inconvenience, but the fact of the matter is that just because another I'm living with is willing to break the rules and the law, does not mean I am exempt from following them myself. John Dryden said that we ought to beware the wrath of patient people, but I certainly have not illustrated that. I really have not retaliated against you except for making some reasonable requests, although it has been some small solace to me that my very existence in our room has been a thorn in your side. Of course, it does hurt to kick against the pricks, and that's the thing. I don't like hurting others or their goodwill, even if there's not much there. Over the past few months, I must have come across as pretty pliant and pusillanimous, a pussy or a pushover, if you will. I do not think the same of you. You're a big, macho boy who uses his television as a nightlight, has the gall to tell me he is capable of watching television while playing videos near full blast, holding his smartphone up to his face, and can regrow his mustache almost instantly, even when he accidentally shaves half of it off. However, just because you might be a little clumsy does not make you an idiot. You wouldn't be here, get the grades you do, or give decent speeches if you lacked an iota of intelligence. By the end of college here, Evan, our roommate, will be able to tell me that hand sanitizer contains water because water opens up the pores and allows for better cleaning, while you will be the guy who tells me that hand sanitizer does not contain the alcohol which we put in our cars and can drink, but rather an alcohol derived from petrol that is unsafe to ingest. As I said, you are not an idiot. It is with conscious abandon that you have disregarded my wishes for sleep, among other things, yet have felt compelled to leave the television on in my room with only me in it for variable but usually unreasonable lengths of time, when I have expressed my aversion to unnecessary noise. So, what monikers are appropriate for a person who deliberately acts in such ways? I suppose jerk is a name that suits a person who visibly dons a scowl when I walk in the room, and I suppose coward is the proper name for someone who takes advantage of another's leniency, as you have mine. However, experiencing you has not been without its merits. The way you talk so kindly to your folks and girlfriend over the phone was truly a marvel, and if you treat your girlfriend with any semblance of the amount of respect you've treated me with, she's one hell of a keeper. I've often thought you've only acted the way toward me that you have because college is a time for experimentation, and no one really supervises you except yourself, although I must come across as pretty despotic for turning your television off when I head to bed and you're not around to turn it off yourself, assuming you would. As such, a mature, macho adolescent looking to experiment is likely to crack open a few cans now and then. I didn't really mind that, so long as you locked the door behind you when you went in and out of the room to go to the bathroom on Thirsty Thursdays, although from the sounds of the door shutting and the silence of the locks, that was rarely the case. One particularly petty revenge I got was the night you guys decided to have a party in the room. I couldn't fall asleep because, naturally, the door was unlocked for people to come in and out of the room as you lay squeakily hiccuping on your bed, muttering incoherently to voluptuous girls who weren't there. A tall black man I didn't know walked into our room, pulled out his smartphone, and recorded you for a couple minutes in your delirium, somehow totally unbeknownst to you, and I did nothing about it. Of course, your hiccuping, as it would many other nights later, woke me up continually and kept me awake, not so much from the noise, but more from how hard it is to fall asleep while suppressing my laughter. Your semi-consistent cleaning of your bed-sheets the days following such nights were also a laugh and a half. I hope you got somebody lined up to room with you who's either like-minded or as tolerant and non-vindictive as I have managed to remain. The motes of respect for you I still may have left in me impel me to hope that you will clean up your act before you actually will be forced to own up to it, or before somebody makes you drink your own tobacco spit. I'm not saying you deserve that, but given the wrong person and the circumstances, that might come. It may not have been out of malice, but I found it awfully suspicious that, on the rare occasions you did find locking the door during the day worth your while, it was not when you were the only one in the room heading to bed to take a nap, but instead when you were fully awake and I was coincidentally on the other side. Perhaps you were expecting an unwanted guest, and I suppose that's a fair cause, but it has not escaped my memory that there was a single instance early on in the first semester where, about to head to bed, I suddenly realized I needed to recycle something, left to dispose of it, and with some immediacy returned back, and found myself deliberately locked on the other side of the door, with both you and Evan fully conscious in the room. I don't believe in magic, so I believe 2 and 2 may be put together. Additionally, I have also found your reactions to small talk quite curious. You seemed almost lively around certain cohorts, whereas most attempts at chatting I ventured with you were met with silence and sour looks, as if I were some imaginary vision mumbling heresy. Although I do commonly mumble to myself, you seemed to have perceived that I don't use the second person for that, given the looks and pauses you've made in response. Although I have gotten a great deal of social and emotional fulfillment from interacting with my other peers, some of the staff here, and my online friends, it has disturbed me to return home, at the end of the day, to a person who genuinely ignores my invitations to social engagements, and whose silence clearly conveys sincere disdain for me. As such, the cynical part of me thanks you for substantiating something. My apprehension regarding the veracity of the statement that one's college years are some of the best years of one's life. If this year is any indication, you have helped me determine that my existence will be a little more miserable than I'd like it to be, which actually very well describes my overall experience with you. Getting to room with you was a disappointment, but it certainly could have been a lot worse. You have demonstrated enough discretion to have not caused many other problems for me while being intoxicated. I've read numerous stories online about roommates upchucking onto others' beds, causing mayhem for their drink-abstinent peers, and all sorts of things I would rather not have been happy about. If you've made it this far without stopping to tear this up or to burn it, you've been a more voluntary audience than I anticipated you would be. These words are the words I've been holding back. This is the apology I have deprived you of. So please leave a comment in the comments section below, and I guess I'll get back to audio reading as soon as I can once the semester's over. I wish I could borrow this every single day, but I really can't, so, Thank you for listening to my tirade. I hope you enjoyed it if you've made it this far. Happy listening, friends. Also, if you're interested in me doing some sort of special for reaching 200 subscribers, as I'm going to probably reach that before too long, sometime when I get back into audio reading, I imagine, I'll probably reach that mark. I want to have something prepared for that occasion, just like this was for the 100 FimFiction follower landmark. Thank you very much for listening.